Welcome everyone. In this video we are going to recreate our equipment system and we are going to save it. We are going to recreate our inventory system to make it more convenient once we add more items to our equipment. So in our third-person character we are going to add a new variable for our equipment. So I'm going to call this equipment, and we're going to do this similar like we did with the inventory. It's going to be an array of a inventory structure type. And make sure you replicate it. And we are going to be looking through the equipment quite a lot throughout the gameplay, so I'm going to add a function and I'm gonna call this find equipment. And for this one we are going to need an input, which is going to be a type, basically what type of equipment we are looking for, string. And now I'm gonna drag in the equipment and we are going to do a loop for each with a break. And then we are going to split the structure, and what we are looking for is this type to be equal with one of the items in the equipment. Then if this is true, then we need a boolean, which I'm gonna add by adding a local variable. I'm gonna call this item found boolean single variable. And if this is true, then we are setting this to true, and if it's false, we are setting it to false, like this. Then from the true value we can break the loop, and then once the loop is broken we can return and a few outputs. So we need the item data. That might come in useful, so as inventory, and then we probably need the item index so that we know the position of an item inside the array. And most importantly we need a found boolean, and item data comes from the array. Same goes for the index, it comes from the array, and the found comes from item found, like so. Compile and save, and we are going to use this quite a bit. Now in the event graph I'm gonna fix the create UI from the keyboard I key. We are creating a inventory UI, but I'm going to do the create widget function, and the class is the inventory, and we can remove this is inventory open and replace this with is UI open. Now I'm gonna go to my UI folder and open up the inventory, and here we have all of this. So what I will do is I will copy the icons and set brush from texture nodes. Now that I have these set up, I will delete everything once we have completed the loop. And now we can do a pretty similar thing. We will get our equipment. I'm not gonna use the same function because that one has like a break, so I will loop through this right here because it doesn't really matter because we are having to loop through the whole thing anyways. So inside of here we are going to set our brushes, our icons. So we need to do a switch on string, and the selection is the type, and so we need the outputs. Helmet, armor, pants, boots, weapon, and these go like so. And now from the icon we can connect this to the texture, And this is all set up. Now for the on-click events, I'm going to select everything and I will deselect the events themselves and delete everything. Now at this point we need two variables, so I'm going to create the first variable is going to be isUsingItem, because we need to give the server some time to process the data. And also we need a equipment type variable, which will be a string, and then we need to set the equipment type from every on-click event. And here we need the equipment type, so I'm gonna type in helmet, armor, pants, boots, weapon. And from this we will do a if branch check from all of these to see if we are using an item right now. So isUsingItem. If we are, then that's it, we are stopping. But if we are not using an item, then we are setting this to true. We are using an item now. And then we will cast to third person character, get owning player pawn, and then we can run our find equipment, and the type should be our equipment type. From this we can run a if branch check to see if we found an item. If we did not find an item, then we are setting isUsingItem back to false. But if we found an item, then I should probably reroute this, and we should give player an item, and the item data should be the found item which we found in our equipment, so we are giving it back to the inventory. And from here we need to do server collect unequip, and here for the player we drag in the same thing, add a equipment type, and we need one more input into this, so I'm gonna double click this. Here is the event, and what I will do is add a new parameter, and this is going to be the item index integer. Let's leave it be for now, and in the UI inventory now the item index is this item index right here. In the chest videos I have created a create loading bar, which is basically just a regular widget with a progress bar which fills up over time, and this is how I display it. As simple as it gets. And from here we are going to do a delay. You don't necessarily need to create a widget, I just do so that the player sees that he needs to wait. And then we need to do a clear HUD and a create, oh wait, I need a reroute for this. We need a create widget, and we need to recreate our inventory. And once this is done, we can also set our isUsingItem back to false. And I think that is it for the UI inventory. Now let's move on to the way we equip our items from the inventory, from the item info. And if maybe you already noticed, in this part right here, we could connect our health to the stamina. Same goes for the food and water, like so. And what we can do then is delete the first 3 rows like so. Whoops, not that one. There we go. And then I will select these nodes right here, move them up, delete the last 2. And now we can get our type from over here, and the amount comes from the value. Then I will remove these nodes right here and move, and also the last 2, and move this equip item somewhere closer. and connect our helmet, armor, pants, boots and weapon directly into this. And we need to set the target to this one as well. And then at this point we can do a delay again. So I will go to the UI inventory, copy the last nodes up until including the load. I will paste this in, and we don't have a variable is using item, so I'm gonna right click and create this variable. And then we can connect our player right here, move these up a bit, connect this one, and connect the equip also over here as well. Then at the start we need to do a if branch check to see if we are using an item already. So if, and we need to connect this to false. If we are not using an item, then we can use an item, and also we need to set this to true, that we are using an item right now. And a few more places where we need a false is on the failed cast. So we're gonna set this to false, also from this branch check, and here from the default switch. And we can also set one over here just in case if we fail to remove an item. And that's it for the item info. Now let's work on actually equipping the item. So I'm going to open up the equip item function in the third person character, and I might just delete this back part over here because we do need to break this to get some data, but we can delete this one as well. And now here we need to do our find equipment, and we need to connect our type to this type over here, and then we should do a if branch check to see if we have found an item in our equipment, because we are equipping one right now, so we need to make sure that there isn't any item. If we fail to find an item, then we need to remove player item using the item data from the input, and amount will be 1, of course. And then from this one we can do the server collect equipment so that we can equip an item, and the item data comes from the input, and the player is a reference to self. Then from the true value we need to give player an item, the item that we already have equipped, so that we would remove it, and this is the one from over here. And then we can run our server collect unequip. The player again is a reference to ourselves. The item index is this one over here, and the type we can get from this from over here, from this structure. So basically, if we have found an item in our equipment, we are going to give the item which we have found in the equipment back to the player, unequip it, and then we can remove the item that we are equipping from the inventory and move it to the equipment. Now we can move to our event graph, and we need to find our server unequip, server equip events, and here we need to drag in the equipment, and we need to remove an index on the unequip, and the index is this index right here. And then on our equip we again need to drag in our equipment, and we need to add the item data like so. Now we can move on to the functions from our previous video, player joined and refresh players, and here at the player joined we need to swap the last two nodes because we need to load the game first, and then we want to refresh our players. And once this is done, then on the refresh players we need to get our third person characters equipment, and we need to do a loop for each. And from this loop we are running our server equip item, which gets connected like so, and the player is this player right here. Now what I really don't like about this event right here is the size of it, so I will select all of this, everything but the event node, and I will right click it and collapse the function, and I will name this server is equipping. So that now takes a lot less space. And also now we need to save and load, so let's find our save game function, and here we need a structure first to add our equipment. So as player saves, structure needs to have a equipment added to this, which is a S inventory structure type. And we may actually delete these ones over here: equipped helmet, armor, bands, boots, weapon. There we go. And in our third person character, now we can disconnect these from the save game. Same goes for these. And here we need to get our equipment, and we need to reconnect it. And another one over here as well. 2 equipments. There we go. So now we can move on to the... We are getting an error. Okay, yeah, that's cool. So the load game, we have our 5 equipments. We're going to delete these. And as this third person character, we need to set the equipment and connect this like so. And the equipment comes from the structure. So now we can compile this, and everything should work great. So I already joined the game once, collected some items, equipped them, and here is the result once I re-enter the game back again. And same goes for the second player. You can see that his equipment is ready to use, and I did not connect with the third person just yet, but we can go pick up our pickups. And if we walk up to another player, we can see in his screen how we are equipping everything, and everything is working. Also, if we click on a pants which we already have equipped, then it just swaps them around just like that. So everything is pretty much done, but now we may run into a few issues with some other equipables. If we would now delete our extra variables, we would run in some issues. So if we compile this now, you can see that it is screaming for S inventory structure. So if we click on the first one, we are dragged to mouse right click. So what we can do over here is move this back a little, where we are checking if we are shooting or something, and we need to find our equipment on true if we are shooting something, and we need to find a weapon. Then we can do a if branch check to see if we found a weapon, and if we have found a weapon, then we can proceed to the switch, and this structure then can come from right over here, and we have another one back here which can come from the same location. So now by compiling this one is working. We have another one in our mouse left pressed. So here I will move this down a bit, and from here I will do a is valid to check if our equipped weapon slot is valid. Do we have a weapon at all? And if we do, then we can find the equipment, which is again a weapon type. Then from this we can do a if branch check to make sure we have found an item. Then we can move all of this, connect this to true. And now connect our structure right here. So this is fixed as well, and we have some more in our left released. And here we can just simply copy actually this part right here, these 4 nodes, paste them in, move this back, and we are basically running the same process again, checking if our weapon is valid, and if it is, then we can proceed and pass the item data to the structure. One more down, and the last one is here on the drop equipment. This is super simple. What we can do is actually I just simply can move this aside. Let's do a get equipment and a quick loop for each without a break, and we are going to spawn actor from class, which is our spawned pickup, which has a input of an item data, and then we can build our item data, and simply we can now delete everything else right here, and we should split the structure, connect the location, compile, and everything is all set up. So now we have a fully working equipment system which is replicating throughout the server. We can swap the items that we already have equipped with a different one, and everything is working great. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next video.